is Republican Senator Todd Young of Indiana. He's on the Foreign Relations Committee and served as a Marine Corps intelligence officer. It's good to have you on the show, sir.
Chris, thanks so much for having me this morning.
So we have one threat at home. We have another threat abroad in the form of North Korea. Let's discuss them both. What do you want to hear from the president today about Charlottesville and the people who were involved there among those white supremacists?
Well, Chris, thanks for covering this Charlottesville tragedy. Let me begin by offering my condolences and prayers to the families of the young lady who lost her life and was engaged in peaceful civil disobedience assembly, and the two officers in blue who are brave and trying to protect all those assembled. Listen, I can speak for myself here and say that such hatred, such bigotry, such evil, which was exhibited by these white supremacist groups, it's not only un-American, it is anti-American. It grates against all that we stand for as a people. We're a pluralistic country, and we need to celebrate our diversity, which does make us stronger. And I want to be unambiguous about that. And moving forward, I think all of us, from the local level on up, need to continue to speak out against such senseless acts of violence.
Should the president speak out today, or do you think it's too late?
You know, the president has spoken, and I'm not going to get into the business of trying to understand his statements. Certainly,
even when it's about something like this. I mean, this isn't about job numbers or about Kim Jong-un and who's the bigger tough guy. You know, there we get what the president can sometimes do stylistically, and whether you like it or not is subjective. This really isn't subjective. This is about calling out hate in America. There is no equivalence between the people who are down there protesting, you know, in favor of hate and against hate. The president seemed to not recognize that. We don't know why, but it's not something that should just be dismissed as style.
Well, I share your conviction, your sentiment, and frankly, the sentiment that I've heard from Hoosiers that I represent. This is hateful. There's no place for this sort of action, this violence, and this sentiment in America. And I'll be unambiguous about that. I represent all Hoosiers, and they sent me to Washington, D.C. to represent them on the issues most important to them. One of them is making sure that everyone feels respected and represented in this country, and I will forcefully advocate on their behalf on important issues from their domestic security to national security.
Well, Senator, what you say about Charlottesville is not being called into question. So the Hoosiers should feel good in terms of what they wanted from you on that. What the president says, we'll have to wait and see. He certainly has a situation to make up for. So let's move now to North Korea. We hear that Dunford is pushing for diplomacy. There is this rhetorical imbalance between, well, all military options are on the table, but the secretaries of state, secretaries of defense are saying, no, diplomacy is where we want to go. We don't want regime change. We're not looking for war. How do you see this?
So the two are actually quite compatible, and they're not only compatible, it's necessary that the two coexist. That is, we need to have a credible threat, a military force on one hand, and then exercise vigorous diplomacy on the other. Sanctions are very important. In fact, I'm very proud of Secretary Tillerson and Ambassador Haley, who just got through the most robust sanctions regime, certainly in my lifetime, against the North Koreans. But a sanctions regime, which can be further ratcheted up, must be complemented with a credible threat of military force. So it's important that moving forward, General Dunford and the rest of our military continue to increase not just our readiness through further military exercises off the South Korean peninsula and within the peninsula itself and surrounding areas, but also by moving other military hardware into the area. That includes our special operators, that includes our anti-missile defense. There are even some conservative elements of the South Korean government calling for the redeployment of tactical nuclear weapons into South Korea. They were removed, as you may recall, back in the 90s. All of these things will send a message together that the pressure campaign is ramping up, and hopefully bring this totalitarian, monstrous dictator, Kim Jong-un, to the table so that we can peacefully resolve this situation.
I appreciate the explanation on this issue. It's complex, but it matters to the American people. We will stay on it as there are more developments. Senator, please come back and help explain them to the American people here on New Day. And thank you for calling out hate for what it is in Charlottesville. Thank you, sir.
Thanks so much, Chris.
All right. Now, tomorrow on